Hello, welcome back or welcome to the channel. I am Serenity ASMR. Today we're doing another guided story visualization. I'm doing this one outside for fun. I'm at my mom's right now. It's really pretty. I'm gonna try and move the camera a little bit so that the sun isn't in my face so much. I tried to get the flowers in the background. Actually, I kind of want to move like a little bit to the side. Give me 1 second. There. That's better. There's more flowers. Alright. So these guided story visualizations are, I think this is part 6. So they are in a continuous story, but you don't have to have seen the other ones. They make sense as stories by themselves, and they are calming visualizations, so there's not like any drama or anything. It's just like a nice little story that I'm telling. So, and it's about you. And a quick synopsis of, after the car passes, of what's happened so far is that you were at a gas station and you found a mysterious door, and you walked through the mysterious door and you found this winter village, and you've been there for a little bit now. You've met talking animals, you've started learning magic, and you learned that people and animals go to that village when they need to take a break from like the hecticness and the pacing of the real world, the outside world. And you've made some friends, you've made some animal friends, some human friends, you've ice skated with the deer, you met a blue heron by the lake, and then last night you went and saw the northern lights with everyone. And you also, yesterday, started to learn some gardening magic because it's starting to become spring, and so everyone is getting ready for gardening and for preparing to grow stuff. So, you wake up in the morning and the sun is shining through your window, and it's really like kind of glowy and peaceful, and it feels warm on your skin, but it's not so warm that you like wake up sweaty. Oh, my tripod. I hate that feeling when you wake up and you're sweaty. It's not that, you're just warm. And you can hear birds chirping like in the background of this video, hopefully. I just realized I had something on my lip for like the past entire time. Please disregard that. It was like this is so embarrassing. I don't know why it's embarrassing, but I found cotton candy flavored Peeps at the grocery store, which is, I think that's embarrassing because it's such a polarizing candy choice. I keep picking grass. It's a polarizing candy choice because a lot of people hate Peeps and a lot of people hate cotton candy flavored things, so, but I got them to try them and I like them, but for some reason they have these like blue flecks on them. That's what that was. Anyways, so you wake up and the birds are chirping and you kind of are like waking up, kind of stretching, cozy, and you go over and decide to open the window. It's not super warm outside, but it's not cold either. And when you open the window, you kind of like stick your head out and breathe, and it smells like that springtime smell that's kind of like, I think it comes from like the soil getting warm and like the leaves kind of getting sun, and they kind of, you can just smell that it smells like spring. And you go, well, you pull your head back into your room and you're hungry, so you go downstairs for breakfast. And when you go down there, you find Charlotte, your friend, is there, and she's sitting with another human, and you see a third human, Billy, who you met yesterday. He's friends with the fish that lives in the library. And you go to the kitchen to say hi to Melinda, the cook. Melinda is a wood-based life form. She's very kind. And when you enter the kitchen, in the kitchen with her are Cauliflower and Lewis. They're like in charge of the gardening in the village where you are. And Melinda sees you first and says, "Good morning, how are you doing? What would you like for breakfast? I'll make it for you." So you tell Melinda what you want for breakfast. And then Cauliflower says, "Good morning. Thank you so much for your help so far with prepping the soil for the gardening. I seem to remember you being pretty good at plant magic. We are starting planting today. We grow all of the fruits and vegetables here, besides what grows in the forest. You know, we gather some berries in the woods and everything, but we grow peppers, tomatoes, onions. We grow our own crops of strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, all type of things, carrots, radishes, beets." And Cauliflower asks if you would like to help begin with the planting. And Lewis looks at you and says, "It involves magic, so I'm sure you'll be great at it." Cauliflower is like the head gardener, and Lewis is like her like assistant, kind of, her associate gardener, like a sous chef of the garden. And Cauliflower is a root-based life form, and walks on all fours, and you would describe her as like a lumpy hippo made of root vegetable. And Lewis has a humanoid form but is made out of glowing light. So first you eat breakfast. Melinda makes you your breakfast, and then you go out and you sit down at the human table with the other humans. And Charlotte says, "Good morning, this is my sister," and the woman next to her waves. And she introduces herself. She says, "My name is Tide. It's nice to meet you. I've heard a bit about you from Charlotte. Welcome. It's great to have another person here. I heard you were there when to meet Harriet the Mouse's new little babies," which you were, and it was very sweet because Harriet has been so excited to meet her mouse babies. And you eat your breakfast, and then you go back into the kitchen, and you see Cauliflower is still just chatting with Melinda. And when she sees you, she says, "Oh, great, are you ready to help? We've already got some folks out there working on planting, but come on back and I'll show you how to do it. I'll get you started." So Cauliflower leads you out, and there's a group of some of your friends talking to Lewis, and Lewis waves you over, and you go over to stand with them. And Claudius the deer is there. Some of the other deer are there, Rory and Justine. And there's some rabbits there. There's a bear that looks like a little adolescent bear. Like he's not quite a cub, but he's not a fully grown bear. And Lewis says, "I've just gotten everyone else set up, so let me show you what we're doing today. I'm sure you'll be great at it because you're very good at plant magic." And Lewis leads you over to a plant bed, and it says, "We are going to be planting sugar snap peas." So basically you're just going to take these seeds, and Lewis puts some seeds in your hand, and they say, "Okay, first you need to hold them in your hand and cover with your other hand. And then I want you to just picture fully grown sugar snap peas. Do you know what those look like? I can give you a visual aid." Lewis says. And you say, "I do know what they look like, but I can also, a visual aid wouldn't hurt." So Lewis gives you a little picture of sugar snap peas, and you hold the seeds in your hand and close your eyes, and you imagine the fully grown peas. And Lewis says, "Imagine what you can make with them. Imagine the way they will taste. Imagine the life that will be created from these tiny seeds. And try and recreate that feeling that you felt when you were prepping the soil, that feeling in your heart, that desire to help others, that desire to love, that desire to give life to those seeds." So again, you kind of have to get over the initial talking to seeds is weird section of it, but then you sit there for a bit with the seeds in your hand, and you're thinking about the sugar snap peas and the sweet crunch and the nutrients they have and how they will give health and energy to the animals around you. And you think about those peas and how you want them to grow, and the seeds want them to grow, and you both want the same thing. And you start to feel that warmth in your heart, and then it goes down your hands into the seeds, and they start feeling warm in your hands. That is plant magic that you're doing. And then Lewis directs you to plant them in the soil. There's already a little hole dug, so you plant them in the little holes in the soil, and then cover them with dirt and pat the soil like you're tucking them into bed. And then Lewis says, good job. These will grow up to be big, healthy, strong sugar snap peas. They will live long enough to make more seeds, and we will eat the sugar snap peas when they're ready. And so you're just feeling happy. It's like, so there's something really peaceful and simple about gardening, but also like you can feel like the productiveness of like helping grow life that will, turn into nutrients. So you help everyone plant the seeds for a while, and everyone's just kind of chatting and planting. Charlotte and Tide come out and they start planting seeds as well. After a few hours, everyone gets hungry again, so everyone goes back to the cafeteria dining hall to eat a nice lunch. There's sandwiches and wraps and light stuff. So you pick all your favorite things and you're eating lunch with everyone, and then Tide turns to you and says, I don't know if you've met Lucy yet. I think she's coming today. This might be her first time coming out and coming to say hi to everyone, so let's keep an eye out for her. She's one of my favorite creatures that lives here. She's super sweet, super, she's very whimsical and beautiful. And you say, oh, that's interesting, and what kind of creature is she? Because you've met creatures made of amethyst, you've met wood-based, root-based creatures, creatures made of light, creatures that aren't humanoid, lots of talking animals. So you don't want to assume what type of creature Lucy might be. And Charlotte looks over and says, oh, she's a flower spirit, and we don't see her during the winter because she sleeps in the soil, but I think it's time for her to come out. So you came at such a great time. You got to enjoy winter with everyone, do all the fun winter stuff, and now you get to see some of the stuff in spring. And so you're like, oh, that sounds really cool and interesting. Like, you haven't met a flower spirit before. And as everyone's eating, there is kind of like a noise at the door that's like if sparkles made a noise. It's kind of musical, kind of like a wind chime, but more delicate and more glittery. And the doors open and a creature floats through the door, and it is almost humanoid. It's a similar height to a human, but instead of feet, it just has kind of like trails off into roots, and then the rest of its body is made up of almost like woven from flowers. There's all kinds of flowers. There's purple ones, there is pink ones, there's blue ones and big yellow ones and bright green leaves, but mostly flowers, and little white ones and some orange ones, and it's so beautiful. And the creature kind of, it does have like two like arms, almost like this, like leaves of a tulip or something like that, but they're also made of like woven flowers. And the creature walks in and everyone turns to look at her. You're assuming it's Lucy. It is Lucy. And she walks over to the animal table and lays a hand on everyone she passes by. Hello, Claudius. hello Justine, hello Harriet. Actually, and Montgomery the bear is also sitting there. He doesn't leave his little house very often, but he's sitting at the animal tables. The really old bear, Montgomery. She lays a little flower hand on his shoulder and greets Montgomery, and then she comes over to the human tables, says hello Charlotte, hello Billy, hello Tide, good to see you again, who is this? And you introduce yourself. She says, I am Lucy, and then immediately she turns around to the rest of the room and says, if anybody would like a first flower tour of the season, please come with me. I am doing a flower walk. And Charlotte looks at you and says, you have to go with us on the flower walk. It's the first one of the season, and you just follow Lucy around and she shows you the flowers that are starting to bloom, and sometimes she'll bloom some in front of you just for effect. She's a little theatrical like that. But it's a great way to get around and see all of the spots where the flowers bloom the most. So you finish eating really quickly. You drink some water, because it's important to drink water. And oh, look at this. I can't stop picking the grass. And then you and Charlotte and Tide go out and follow Lucy, and a lot of the animals get up too and start following behind. And you notice that Tide goes over and picks up Harriet the mouse, because she just had her babies. She's freshly postpartum, and you and joins the rest of the group holding Harriet. And Montgomery comes up to you, and well, he kind of, he has like a cane. It's like made of oak, and it's like this like gnarled cane, but it's like a big cane because he's a giant bear. And at the top is like wider, so he can kind of rest his big bear paw on it, and he doesn't have to wrap it all the way around. And it has a strap that goes like around his hand so that it stays on his hand. And he says, hey, I've been meaning to talk to you. I've been fascinated about your arrival here since you arrived, because everyone else who's ever come to this world has done it on purpose. So it either gets passed down through families, the knowledge of how, or people find old books that has it written in them, but you just found a door and walked through it. That's never happened before. And so Montgomery says, yes, I've been studying this very intensely, and it's very fascinating. I've done lots of research. I've spent many nights researching instead of sleeping, and it's finally out of hibernation season, so I don't have to worry about fighting off tiredness all the time. Montgomery does not want to hibernate because he is so old. He wants to stay awake until he is indisposed. And he says to you, I have figured out what I believe to be the greatest theory for the reason as to why you have arrived here through the manner in which you have arrived here. Oh, I forgot to do his old bear voice. I'll start doing it now. And he says, I believe that it makes the most sense that the reason why you came here the way you did was because it was simply the only way you were meant to come here, and you never would have given yourself permission to rest, to take a break. You would never have given yourself permission to do that. So this world did it for you. And think on that for a second, because maybe it's true. I'm gonna try and cover the mic because there's someone is sawing something. Maybe that is true. Maybe you never would have let yourself take a break because it's hard not to feel like there's something wrong with that, or it's hard not to feel inadequate when you need to take a break. And sometimes it feels like it might be easier to just keep pushing yourself, even though in the long run it's not. But barring that, Montgomery goes and sits back down. Well, at least you think he's going and sitting back down, but then he comes back around the table and he's now sitting in a giant wheelchair so that he can join the flower walk without having to use his knees. And he wheels along up to the front of the group to start talking to a different animal. So you turn back to Charlotte and Tide, and Asha joins the group. Asha is the librarian who's made of amethyst, and she says, "How are you doing? Have you enjoyed the book recommendations that I gave you?" And you say that you are, because obviously, why would you not say that? First of all, they were good book recommendations, but even if they weren't, like, why would you say that to someone? And you're kind of near the front of the group, so you can hear Lucy talking, and she kind of waves you forward a little bit and says, "Well, welcome, this is your first time." And you can see next to her is the little adolescent bear cub as well. And there's a couple of young rabbits trailing along, and on the little bear shoulder there's some birds that look very young as well. And Lucy says, "Here are all of our first timers. You guys should be in the front so you can see all of the flowers and listen to me explain about them best out of everyone else, because it is your first flower walk." So you guys walk through the woods, and the snow has melted. There's no snow on the ground anymore, and there are little clovers coming up, and dandelions are starting to bloom. And as you're walking through the woods, you come across quite a large patch of dandelions, and Lucy stops and says, "Here are some of my favorite flowers that I am growing. These flowers are so kind, so sweet, very mellow, very easy to care for and grow. They grow themselves pretty much, and they're so grateful just to be alive. I do love them very much. So I keep quite a large crop of them here so that I can just look at them and spend some time with them. They're great at conversation too, very good listeners, very eager to give advice." And then she leads you along, and you come, as you're walking like for maybe 10 minutes through the woods, and then you come out into a meadow, and there's a little creek that runs through the meadow. And everyone has to step across the creek at first, because there's a point where it's really small. And it's like trickling and making that like, I find it hard to describe that noise of like shallow water running over little rocks. It's like it's not a crackly or a crinkly noise. It's like a trickly noise, but like a tinkly noise. I find it very hard. Like a warbly noise. It's very difficult to describe, but I'm sure you know what noise I'm talking about. It's a very cheerful noise. It's like very happy and young sounding. And everyone steps over the little babbling creek. I like that word too. And along the creek there are some purple flowers growing, and Lucy points to them and says, "I love these flowers. They're a little trickier to care for. They need very specific conditions. They're gossips. They love to chitter and chatter. They can be drama queens, but I love them as if they were my children," which they are, but that's more of a human concept. But I do love them dearly. Aren't they beautiful? And they are. They're very beautiful purple flowers. And she leads you out into the meadow, and there's a whole rainbow of colors out there. And you stop by some blue flowers, and she says, "These flowers are lovely, perfect listeners, especially when you're feeling blue or when you're feeling ecstatic. They will always be there to listen to you." And then you come across some sunflowers, and she says, "I love these sunflowers. They always remind one to look on the bright side and turn your face towards the things that bring you joy. Because if your face is looking that way, well, your body will walk that way." And she leads you to some little white flowers, and she says, "I love these flowers. It looks like I dropped a bag of glitter on the floor, like a little sprinkling. Like if it were to rain flowers, this is how they would land on the ground. And I love these flowers. They're so young and innocent. They don't always understand what I say to them, but they just radiate pure innocence." And then you keep walking, and you come to these beautiful bushes full of pink flowers that have like, they're like cone shaped, and then they have these beautiful petals. And she says that these flowers are so funny. They have such a beautiful sense of humor, and aren't they just a gorgeous pink color? It just makes you think of fruits and watermelon and berries in summer, and it's like a hug for your eyes. Such a beautiful color. It makes you think of all the beautiful things in the world. And you guys walk around the meadow, and the sun is out, but it's spring, so it's not hot. It's like, we'll say 55 to 60 degrees. 60 is a little warm for spring, but it's 60 degrees because that's the perfect temperature for spring. And everyone's just kind of walking around and playing and laughing. The birds are flying around and landing on the flowers that can support them. And everyone just kind of disperses around the meadow. Some people sit and look at the flowers. Some people run through them. Some of the younger animals start playing tag. Crocodile, the blue heron, who is very, very detail-oriented blue heron, loves to just stare at the same thing for hours and look at each individual intricacy. He is currently looking at some light green buds that will soon become flowers, and Lucy goes over and motions you over to a little patch of buds that are on, like, they're like little bushes that have buds on them. And she says, none of the red flowers have bloomed yet, but they are some of my favorites. I'll make some of them bloom for you if you'd like to be the first one to see them. So you sit down in front of the bush, and she kind of lays her hand across the bush, waves her little flower tendrils at it, and she kind of starts glowing, and like this, like almost like glowing pollen kind of falls upon the buds, and then before your eyes they bloom into beautiful bright red flowers. And she says, I love the red flowers. They look like the fire of flowers. You could just stare at them, and it looks like the color will just never end, like it's just shining out of them. Aren't they just gorgeous? Simple and elegant and beautiful and vibrant and excitable and just full of energy. Red and orange flowers are like that for me. And you sit there and you just stare at the beautiful, bright, unending shade of red. And the sun is shining on your shoulders, and it smells like spring, and you just feel so calm, and you feel like you're an inseparable part of the earth that you're sitting on, and you feel like you are exactly right where you belong. I don't have a free hand to thank you so much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope the background noise isn't too bad for this to never be posted. I haven't filmed a video in a few weeks actually, because I moved. I did not move to my mom's house, I moved somewhere else. So I pre-filmed a bunch of videos before moving, so it's been a few weeks since actually filming a video. But yeah, I missed it. I'm happy that I'm filming again. And yeah, really hope you guys like this video. I love doing this series. Let me know if you guys liked it. And yeah, if you are having spring right now, like, is it spring where you are, and like what's that like? I love spring. It just feels like hope, and it feels happy. So anyways, if you're going to bed, I hope that you have an awesome sleep with peaceful dreams. I hope you're feeling more calm and cozy. And if you are trying to get stuff done, I hope that you're able to focus, get everything done on your checklist. And even if you don't, I hope you don't beat yourself up about it, because that's the most important part. And above all else, I hope that you guys have an amazing rest of your day/night. There's a bee next to it. Well, it's on the flowers. I'm trying not to be scared of bees anymore, or spiders. Because, like, they didn't do anything to me. I do love bumblebees, though. What was I saying?